You guys can ask questions. I know you probably have a lot. There's not really a lot to talk about from our standpoint. Everything here is as par, going well, and guys are competing. But if you have any questions, let's fire away.
If you had a couple things you want to get accomplished in these 15 days or 15 practices, what would it be?
Well, first off, we're learning a new defense. So we've got a long ways to go there from a terminology, technique, responsibility standpoint. We have a number of new coaches in our organization, and they are working to learn our team and to learn to figure out, I guess, for lack of a better term, where everybody should fit. I think that's the most important part of spring ball. Secondly, we're going to have to establish who we feel like gives us the best chance going into August to be our quarterback. Our offense is going to be the same. We're not going to change what we do. We haven't changed what we've done in a number of years. So those will be the two areas that will be the most important for us to solidify throughout spring ball.
How will the defense look different, or is it too early to say that? This is probably putting stuff in, but what will be different about it, you think?
I think the best illustration is, Coach is a 4-2-5 guy. So from a scheme standpoint, but if you look at what's happened with the defense, if you're not in a 3 down, the contour of the defense is pretty much the same. And so I don't know that you'll see a lot of difference in a scheme and structure-wise. I'm hoping that with Coach and our staff and what we're bringing to the table this spring and this fall, that it will give the defense a little boost. And that's really what we needed. There's times that we had played well enough, but then there was times we didn't play well enough on that side of the ball, in my opinion. I've still yet to determine at whose fault that could be, but for that reason we made a change, and that's one of the most important parts of spring ball, is that with Coach and his philosophies and what he believes in, to give a little jolt to the defense.
What have you seen out of quarterback? Go ahead.
Quarterback?
Yeah, quarterback. What have you seen out of him?
Well, Taylor's the same as he's been. You guys have seen him for years. And now he goes out there with the first group. Woodtey's getting the 2s, and we run the same plays. We don't do much of anything different. Obviously, Taylor is what we think could be a more effective runner than what Mason was, but you won't see a lot of different schemes than what we've done over the last 4 or 5 years.
For whoever is the quarterback, with the strength and ability of Justice, JD, Chuba now getting in the mix, LD, you've got a lot of running backs, and the offensive line seems to be stretching out its depth. Is that something the offense with a new quarterback will be able to lean on a little more?
We've had tremendous success throwing the ball here for a number of years, but I firmly believe in running the football. And last year we were a good running team. The year before that we were average, and a couple years before that we weren't very good. And we've always worked and believed that we needed to be able to run the football effectively. And even as we speak now, what I think we have with our group of running backs is maybe as deep a group as there could be in college football. Now we'll find out how Chuba does, and we'll find out if LD continues to mature, and how far that'll take us. But we will certainly rely on those guys.
They added that extra assistant coach position. What's been your thought process?
Hey Gavin, why don't you tell them to turn that? I appreciate the music just a little bit.
What was the thought process of adding it to that extra assistant?
To go 5-5, 5 on offense, 5 on defense, and try to. Becomes a numbers game like everything else we do. We got 4 guys playing that position. You got 1 guy coaching them. So you break it up now, and Joe Bob is can get some help with Greg, and you got more eyes on that position on every snap.
Offensive line wise, how's that kind of gelling with the players that have been in and out, coming from last year? How's that kind of gelling with the second year in the pencil?
Right now, we've got a couple guys that have a lot of reps here in real games, and they're not going through spring because we cleaned up some shoulders in the off season, and so when our 1s are out there, we've got 1 guy that doesn't have a lot of experience. When our 2s are out there, we have 5 guys that don't have any experience. So as is in most cases in spring ball, offensive line is the slowest position to come along.
You think you'll have you got to find some safeties. You think you'll have that kind of squared away before they go into fall camp, kind of like quarterback?
Squared away
The
what?
safeties, you got to find some safeties. You think that's something you'll decide this fall, or that can you do that in the spring? Who's those guys going to be?
Well, I think we'll have a pretty good idea at the end of spring ball. Could we have a high school player come in the back end and compete and play in the first game? That's a position that's possible. But for the most part, you would think that you would have a good idea where you're at after spring ball, and then in August kind of solidify those positions.
Mike, you talked about your recruiting analysts that you hired the other day, but have you got a feel yet for how the early visits in the spring may work, and whether you want to use them, and are you worried about maybe a guy visiting not making a decision until November, and if he visits now, that visit becomes a memory? I mean, how are you equating all that new recruiting?
Well, everything that you just mentioned is a concern, I think, for most coaches across the country right now. I think we're in some foreign water from the standpoint of how this is going to work. Early, I think coaches felt like you put the press on and try to solidify a lot. I'm not so sure of that now. So we're just kind of feeling our way through. We don't have the answers right now. We have a plan in place, and it's not going to vary much from what it was last year, with the exception of a big official visit weekend during the spring game.